Hi guys, I'm going to talk about something somewhat serious. I was going to talk about um, last week's video a little bit and how difficult it was to get that unicorn snot off my face. I was still clearing sparkles out of my hair, but then I kind of reminded myself of something, and um, I do think it's important to share this with people because I don't have like funny story times or anything like that. I don't have, you know, um, things that can really. Well, I have things that can be laughed about because within this story. So when I was 15 years old, um, I, I I ran away. That's a whole nother story. But I started dating a friend of mine's brother. I had a huge crush on him for like a while, and for whatever reason, when he realized that he couldn't get with another friend of ours, and for some reason, well, I was a teenager, so I was stupid, and I was like, oh, he doesn't want her anymore. No, he just couldn't have her. Um, but so I started dating him, and like I had heard stories from my friend about him just being this really angry guy. For some reason, like I didn't see it. It wasn't like an immediate thing that I saw. But from like the very beginning of our relationship, we were arguing constantly because I still wanted to go and hang out with my friend. I still wanted to. I was a teenager. I didn't want to hang out in his room all day. He was 18 at the time, just to clarify. Um, but I just that's not really the lifestyle that I wanted to live, but that's the lifestyle he wanted me to live. And eventually it got to a point where we were arguing so much, and for whatever reason, and I can't say exactly why, I just kind of fell into that, like exactly where he wanted me to be. And sorry, this is one of those stories that it's a little difficult to talk about, but like it didn't start, this relationship didn't start out, he was, it started out, he was trying to be controlling right off the bat. This is the very first thing that happened, and I'm not going to go into details about a lot of the shit that happened between us. All I'm going to say is that being controlling is a good sign that eventually it's going to work its way up, especially if it is a person who does have anger issues. So, it started with all that, and then I just kind of settled into that, and a couple little like stories before it got to a physical point, where there was a time that we were downloading a game, and I was asked to keep an eye on it while he was at work, and he was the one that picked the download. And it turns out that the game that he picked was in German, and it was my job to keep an eye on the download. So, so when he got home, he was fucking furious with me and called me names. Stupid bitch, I think, is the most, pardon my language, but that's what it was. It was the most common name that he would call me, and like I was living with them, him and his family at this point. His mother was always very, very kind to me, and there were times that she made him leave the house. When he told me to leave the house, she was like, "You don't have to leave, he does." And so I appreciate that. Now, another thing that didn't seem like that big of a deal to me, but now I'm noticing was a huge sign of um, of abuse, and of course, it's hard to see it when you're in that relationship. Especially, I was a teenager. I was like madly in love with this dude, um, but I was stupid because I was a teenager. But his mom would make us dinner, and she'd give me my plate, and or I would be the last to get food, and he'd always go before me, and um, he would pretty much clear it all out. And the reason why was, his reasoning was that he was bigger than me, so he needed more food. And by the end of me living there, like they tried to feed me, but by the end of me living with him, I weighed like a little under 120 pounds, which is right on the cusp of me being like severely underweight because I'm 5'6". Um, so everybody thought I was doing drugs. Like all of my family, when they saw me, they thought I was doing drugs, but really it was just because he wasn't allowing me to eat. And I don't know if he was even consciously doing it or what, but um, yeah, it was to that point. Another story before it got to uh, a violent, any violent acts, um, where there was a time that his friend brought his water pipe over, his bong. He brought that over, and it had been sitting in his room for a while. And I went to go and do something, and I ended up knocking it over. And like he just went off on me, and he was like, "You're gonna tell him." And I was bawling my eyes out because I felt so bad that I broke this. It was like $170 piece. Felt so bad that I broke it, and he was just making me feel so much fucking worse. And just he was like, "You're the one that has to tell him that you did this when he gets here." And so dude gets there, and like I'm bawling and just tears streaming down my face, and I go to tell him that I broke this, and like I told him I broke it, and he just kind of laughed, and he was like, "It's cool, dude." And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't figure he was gonna be that mad about it for whatever reason, but this fucking kid that I lived with. And then the first time that it did actually get violent, is that about a year in, I wasn't on birth control, and obviously I was sleeping with this dude, and I hadn't had my monthly situation yet, and so I went and talked to him, and I was like, I think I need to get a pregnancy test. And just like immediately fucking snapped, and he grabbed me by the neck and slammed me to the floor. And his sister was home, my friend, and she was like, "The fuck is going on in here?" And he was like, "It's none of your business." And I was like, "I'm fucking leaving," because she asked, and he took his hand off of me. And so I was like, "I'm leaving." So it's not funny, but he took me and he put me in his closet. And he wouldn't let me out of his closet until his sister came in, and she was like, "You can't fucking do that. That's kidnapping. You can't do that. You let her out of that fucking closet." So she was trying to get me to leave with her, and she actually ended up being hit by him as well for trying to stop him from doing this. And for whatever reason, after that, like, I went and stayed the night with her somewhere, and I came back. I'm not really sure why. I don't think I can ever explain why. Like I said, I was a stupid teenager, and the fear slash I genuinely thought I loved this dude, but it didn't start like that. And like, I knew he was an angry guy, and I was told some stories that I should have paid attention to and been concerned about, but there were a couple other situations where it got to a point where it was scary, and he put his hands on me, and then he would threaten to kill himself every time I was like, "I'm fucking leaving." And I think that's part of it too, is I was like, I don't want to be responsible for this lady losing her son, or this lady losing her brother, or him taking his life at all. And so, I didn't, and then, and then towards the end, it got to a point where we weren't really talking a whole lot. But he was watching conversations that I was having on a video game that I played, an MMO that I was playing at the time. He was watching conversations, and I said that I didn't really want to be there in one of my conversations on this game. I was just talking to somebody, and admittedly, I don't know. I shouldn't have told him, because I know what fucking would have happened. But he saw it, and I went to go and lay down, and he was like, "So you don't really want to be here?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And so he fucking slammed me up against the wall and ended up breaking one of my ribs. I didn't get any sleep last night because I couldn't I couldn't breathe. I couldn't lay in any sort of comfortable way. Of course, I didn't know at the time that anything was like actually wrong. And the next day, I still couldn't fucking get up, and somebody came and got me, and that was I wish that was the last time that I saw him, but that was the last time that we were actually together, and for whatever reason, I kind of backslid at a certain point, and I did end up seeing this dude again, because, once again, I was a teenager. It was the first guy who ever acted like he loved me, well, not really, but, so, yeah, so I just thought that that's a story that people need to hear and kind of understand that, it doesn't just start physical, and if you notice that it is that they're controlling, that, even if they're not trying to control who you're talking to, they're trying to control what you eat and calling you names. It's never okay, even in an argument, because my husband and I now, we try our very fucking best not to be, like, brutal with each other, not to call each other names. Even if we're arguing, we try not to bring up situations that will hurt each other. We're not trying to hurt each other. We're trying to figure something out. And while, arguing, it happens in all relationships, and, it's not really the best way to handle things. If you're arguing, don't. Just don't come at the other person like you're trying to tear their heart out. But just know that it's never okay for the person who says that they love you to call you a name, to call you anything besides, cute little pet names or your actual name. It's not okay for them to attack you verbally. Obviously, it's not okay physically. But if they call you names and it's a constant thing, you can bet your fucking ass that eventually they are going to get to a point where they think it's okay to put their hands on you. Where they think they've gotten you low enough and hating yourself enough that you won't leave once they do it. And that's what it's all about. It's about control. It's about knowing that they have enough control, that they can control you in a physical way as well, and you won't do anything about it. So, this was a little long, and, I didn't want to go into, too much detail because it's not something that I particularly enjoy talking about, but I wanted to do something like this for my school because there's, a group that basically talks about domestic violence, and it's Respect on Campus, that's what it's called. And they talk about all sorts of stuff like that, and I wanted to do an event when I was part of student government where we would talk about that and talk about knowing the signs of a relationship getting to that point, and just, nobody should ever have control over you. And I'm married, and I don't think that I should have control over my husband. We're kind of, we've decided to join our lives together, but it's joining our lives together, not we have one life now. And we both do exactly what each other say. So, don't try and control the person you're with. If you don't like something about them, or they don't like something about you, and they just cannot deal with it, then you guys don't need to be together. But, I don't know. I'm not saying my relationship's perfect. I'm saying it's the best relationship certainly I've ever been in. And, we did used to attack each other and say the most hurtful things that we could. And then, about 2 years into our marriage, a year and a half into our marriage, 2 years into our relationship, we've been married for 6 years almost. Sorry. So about 2 years into our marriage, he said something to me that just cut me so deep, and it's something I'm really sensitive about. And so I did something really stupid following that to myself, and that is when we decided that there's never any reason for us to put each other down like that. And we haven't since then. We haven't done anything to where, we're hurting each other, because that's not what a relationship is about. You're supposed to fix shit, or, it can stay the same, whatever, but don't don't go backwards, you know? But anyway, I'm kind of glad I don't have a lot of subscribers right now. Kind of glad that not a lot of people are going to see this, because, it is something that's really personal to me, and like I said, I wanted to share it with people anyway, just so they could understand that it doesn't just start out physical. It gets to that point. You have to be broken down before they can, physically abuse you and think you won't leave, because you're broken. But anyway, on a lighter note, it's a beautiful day outside, and we're all done talking about it now. So, pay attention. Pay attention in your relationships. And I will see you guys next Tuesday.